Russia, China, Iran are in the way of American hegemony. And they want to weaken those countries and put them in a position where they can't stand up to American purposes. I mean, look, Russia blocked them in Syria. Russia and China blocked them in Iran. They don't want to be blocked. And so what they're going to do now, if they can, they're going to bust up the Russian Federation. They'll pump money into every dissident group anywhere in the Russian Federation. They'll, just like, remember when Putin was last reelected?
Yeah.
Substantial victory. We said it was fraud, he stole the election, and we set loose all the riots in Russia from the American-financed NGOs. So we've got fifth columns throughout Russia, and we fund them with money, and we support the terrorists in Chechnya. And so they are vulnerable to being disrupted by the NGOs that Washington funds. So that's what the goal is. And so why is Ukraine important? Well, you have, as you pointed out, the Black Sea naval base that Russia has there. They have a lease on it until 2042. You've got the eastern Ukraine, which is former Soviet military-industrial complex, you see. And the western Ukraine has always had these extreme nationalists, these ultra-nationalists. They actually fought on the side of the Nazis during World War II. They actually, this part of the Ukraine actually fought against the Red Army. Of course, they got wiped out. But for Washington, okay, look, we can really bring a serious strategic threat to Russia here. We can devalue their nuclear deterrent by putting anti-ballistic missile bases in Ukraine on their border. And so when we put pressure on them, they'll have to think much harder about standing up to it, because we can we'll have the upper hand militarily. We'll be able to knock out their nuclear deterrent. They won't be able to resist our pressure. So that's the real reason for it. Now, of course, there are other economic reasons. The Western bankers and the Western corporations and Western agribusiness want to get their hands on the Ukraine. They want to loot it. The agribusiness corporations want to get the Ukrainian farmlands. There are questions of, Chevron wants to get in there and frack and do energy exploration. And they want to be able to disrupt the Russian pipelines that run through Ukraine into Western Europe, so that they can get Western Europe off of dependence on Russian energy and ship them over the natural gas that we are fracking here. So it's a multi-dimensioned project. It has many American economic interests in it. When Victoria Nuland spoke at the National Press Club last December and said that Washington had invested $5 million in subverting the Ukraine, she was talking, her audience were all the people who will profit from looting the Ukraine. And there was a big Chevron sign right there standing beside her while she spoke. So the economic part is to loot the Ukraine. But that is just the way that the neoconservatives pull all these other economic interest groups into their program of subverting the Ukraine. And the reason they want to put it in the EU is so they can put NATO bases there. So the main purpose is what Bolton said, put NATO bases, which means U.S. missile bases in the Ukraine. I think Putin is just staying low-key, being reasonable, asking questions. He's not done anything so far, but the Western press keeps lying and lying. Now, at some point, the Europeans have to notice that these are lies, and they have to wonder, why are they telling so many lies? And then they have to say, this really is an orchestrated affair. Why are we part of it? Is this really something we want? Do we want these kinds of confrontations with Russia? You see, Russia is, as you said earlier, they can't accept some major strategic threat. If they cave in to what is clearly a major move by Washington against them, this is a major military move by the United States against Russian strategic interests. And if Putin simply accepts that, then he's defeated. It's all over. He can't do that. He can't. So if Washington keeps pushing, if violence against Russians develop in eastern Ukraine, that's when the confrontation takes place. Now, I think Washington will fade. It will simply fold. It can't possibly deal with the Russian army on its own territory. Can't. And so it knows that it would lose, and then to save face, it would start rattling nuclear weapons, and then the whole world may be gone. And I just don't think they want to risk it. They'd rather wait, see if they can assassinate Putin. I mean, the United States government assassinates people all the time. You know, Obama now says he can assassinate American citizens. Well, if he can assassinate American citizens, he can assassinate Russian leaders. So this is just my bet at this present time, on the information we have at this time, that if it comes to a showdown over eastern Ukraine, Washington will back off. They won't want to go forward with that. NATO will not want to send European troops in. They just won't want to do that. Because an anti-ballistic missile defense might defend the United States somewhat, but it won't defend Europe because Russia will use cruise missiles. And cruise missiles can't be intercepted by anti-ballistic missiles. So all European capitals can be wiped out at Putin's will. He can wipe them out anytime he wants to. Nothing anybody can do about it. So I just don't think they would want to join a reckless, insane adventure, a military adventure against Russia. So I think that's Putin's bet. He's saying that at some point the Europeans are going to come to their senses. And that's why he keeps asking questions. Why do you keep enabling the Americans to make these terrible mistakes? Look what's happened. All these Iraqis, all these Afghans, all these Libyans, all these Syrians, the Pakistanis, the people in Yemen, in Somalia. How many people do you want? How many destroyed lives and homes and livelihoods and dispossessed and displaced people do you want to be responsible for, Europe? And then you come here and talk to me about freedom and democracy. Well, that's an argument they don't have an answer to. They can't answer that. So what we do, we try to close that argument down by demonizing Putin. But he always replies in a very low-key way. So I think he is emerging as the leader of the free world, not the sock puppet in the White House, who's always making threats. And, I mean, look at this idiot Kerry running around threatening a nuclear superpower. I mean, it was kind of like me running up and calling Mike Tyson names.
Yeah.
or Bruce Lee. What if I run up and slapped Bruce Lee in the face? I mean, if he was still around, I'd be history, you know. So if people don't have any better judgment than that, they should not be in the United States government. Kerry should be removed from office. He's not fit to be there. He hasn't got enough sense. He has no diplomatic skills. All he does is issue threats. The same for Obama. He does not have enough sense to be the president of a superpower. We have all of these fifth-rate people, the low-grade morons, running around issuing threats and orders like the whole world their servants. This isn't going to work. It's not working. We've lost everywhere except Serbia. We managed to destroy Serbia, set up puppet states. But everywhere else we've lost. We've come out defeated. And so I think that's what Putin is relying on. He's saying one day these Europeans are going to see the facts.